Here we are at the conclusion of a beautiful kitchen remodel. It really came out awesome. The team at Royal Kitchens and Baths is really proud of this project. We had the pleasure to work with wonderful clients. They were very engaged and participated quite a bit in the design of this kitchen. And there were particular things that they wanted to include that we may not have done before, which we'll talk about. The clients wanted a furniture looking refrigerator, as you can see, with the decorative panels on it, which is one of my favorite things to do as well. The challenge we had was we had limited space on this wall. There was originally a closet here, and we wanted to make the kitchen look larger and have an open volume. So what we try to do is we try to keep the taller pieces, refrigeration, storage cabinets, out of the way of the volume of the kitchen overall. So this is a Sub-Zero refrigerator, and what's kind of unique is this is a certain size that does not come in what's considered an integrated or really built-in look. What we did is we followed Sub-Zero's direction, and we were able to take this particular design of refrigerator, add the panels to it, but we recessed it into this opening with paneling, and it really came out beautiful. It really looks nice. So this, I believe, is a 42-inch refrigerator with the drawer on the bottom. You know, you can get an idea of how wonderful it is on the inside, and you can see all the trim work and the paneling to give it that really nice furniture look. One last thing to take note of, as we walk through the kitchen, you'll notice the hardware is oil rubbed bronze with a copper bleed. So it's very nice that there is a copper accent theme, as you'll notice with the sinks, the faucets, and the decorative hardware throughout the kitchen. As we continue in this kitchen, you'll notice here that we have a steam oven along with a microwave oven, also made by the Wolf Company. This was a really nice combination because these clients are pretty much professional cooks, love to entertain, and they wanted this kitchen to be able to perform for them, for their guests and their cooking needs. When you think about it, that's what life is about, right? Getting together with our friends and family, socializing and having a good time. So this particular oven, you'll also notice in the top section, it has tray dividers. And these tray dividers have springs on the top and bottom that hold the tray dividers in place, and they can be moved left and right accordingly. You get an idea of what the system looks like and how it works. As we move along to the left of the sink, one of the things we like to do as designers, if we can, you'll notice that the countertop is on a 45-degree angle. What that does, it allows this countertop space to be used as a functioning work area. Sometimes when it is a 90-degree corner, it's just basically a countertop, but it doesn't function as well as if it's angled. So this gives us a whole work area here to the left of the sink. And we have some cabinet interiors that we'd like to talk about also. Here you can see this pull-out system where we have the paper towel dispenser, extra storage for items like the paper towels. You'll notice that it's all soft close system. If we open up this cabinet, you can see inside heavy-duty wooden Lady Susans. You can see how smooth they are. There's no pipe in the middle. They're not rocking. This is very good quality. And you also notice as I open and close the doors, many people are very familiar with the soft close system on the hinges and the drawers. So in this particular case, these hinges are not functional. We had a particular theme in mind that we wanted to work on, and these hinges are what we call a faux hinge. So they're basically dummy hinges to create the effect of the theme that we were creating in this kitchen. But the hinges overall, when you look at it, they're very heavy duty, all metal. They're adjustable up, down, in and out, and left and right, and all soft closing. Here we can see we have an apron front sink. It's made out of copper, hand hammered. It has a division in it to perform different tasks. We can see the decorative element with the grapes on the front of the sink. We can see a matching faucet in the copper theme. In this particular case, we did have to move the window and adjust it and put a new header in. And you'll notice something that I speak to a lot of my clients about. We didn't necessarily change the size of the window, but by making it a picture window, because we do have a functioning patio door that can be opened and closed if fresh air needed to be brought in. But you can see the view of the yard is so much nicer without having divisions in it, like if it was a casement with a mullion in the middle or double hung windows with dividers. You'll also notice another design element is we have the decorative valance across the window. And you'll notice here that we recessed it. And the reason we recessed it is it adds another element so that the moldings have some movement, and it gives a nice design element to the kitchen as well. You'll also notice left and right of the sink these other elements with the appliques on them. So I'm just going to open them, show you what's here. So we have these adjustable shelves. They can be used for taller items or shorter items, depending on how the client wants to use them. So I'm just going to scoot this way, and you can see the other one here. You can see how smooth they operate when I open them. And you notice the quality, everything is made out of a very good quality wood and heavy duty draw guides. These have some weight to them, to be honest with you. So as I move them in and out, you can see how smooth they are. And you'll also notice the soft close mechanism on these as well. The hearth area, our cooking center, is awesome. We have a 5-foot double oven range. You can see this is professional. It's going to do what it needs to do. But along in the hearth area, you can see the custom hood that was made. It has a commercial liner and blower underneath. You can see the decorative elements with the wainscot panels. You can see the corbels that were applied. You'll notice that with the crown molding, because we're working with a limited height for the ceiling, that the riser part below the crown, we didn't carry it across the top of the hood because we wanted the hood to have a bigger presence. And what some people may know, which is very interesting, is the newer homes are very tight when it comes to sealing the house. So when the blower is turned on this unit, you'll see this vent. And what this does is this has a mechanism that brings fresh air in from the outside. So this is called a makeup air system. So when the hood is turned on, it opens up the damper and it allows fresh air to come in so that everything can circulate and you don't get the vacuum effect, so to speak. Another element in the design, you'll notice here, if you're able to focus on this corner, what we did with the hearth and the range is we pulled this section forward. So the hearth area had its own identity. So you can see the difference here. This cabinet recesses back, and then we see a line that now continues that's further out to really drive home the effect of this area. You'll see in the top, we have a very good quality solid wood silverware divider, and something that's new to the market, which the clients asked us for. This is actually the first time we installed one of these. This is actually a vacuum sealer. So basically, vegetables, fish, whatever you want, you can use this system to put it into a plastic envelope, so to speak, or container. I'm not an expert here as a presenter, but this vacuum seals the products. And this is also made by Wolf. And you'll notice that it's very much incognito inside the drawer, so it's not really noticeable as an appliance. Now, one of the things you see that we did here, you notice on this 3-drawer base that these 2 drawers are the same distance, but then the bottom one is deeper. So even though it's 3 drawers, the whole technique of this is to be able to have the deeper drawers for pots and pans. And then we can come down on this side, and you'll notice here that we wanted something for the utensils. Your spatulas, your soup spoons, all your cooking utensils are very conveniently located right next to the range. Another thing that I like that this client is doing is I talk to clients about using a drawer for lids. Some people don't think about that, but pans can be put in drawers, lids can be put in drawers. So if you think about how to utilize the storage the most ergonomically, the most efficiency, these are some things to think about. And again, we see pots and pans in our drawers here in the 2 deeper drawers. So when we look at the hearth area overall, the 2 bottom drawers are going to be for your pots and pans. The middle drawer here is your vacuum sealer. We have our utensils in this one. We have our silverware in the top there and our lids. So everything was worked out so that it's very easy to use when cooking and preparing food. Lastly, in the hearth area, you can see this beautiful tile backsplash. So it's tumbled, so it has a nice rustic effect to complement the theme. And you'll see this beautiful mural that the clients were able to find. And we can see the stello border, and it really fits very nicely and just really finishes the look of the theme that was being created with this kitchen. No gourmet kitchen would be complete without a bar to service it. Here we can see the wine rack with the cross grid section. We also see that there's a glass rack here. There's a beautiful complementary copper sink and faucet. We carried out the theme of the tile from the main kitchen. Also here you can see we have a wine captain or a wine refrigerator. And then to complement it to our left, we can see that we have an ice maker, which is very convenient for entertaining indoors. Also, this bar is set up so that it's very convenient right to the patio on the outside in case they're entertaining on warmer days. It services the kitchen twofold, whether it be inside or whether it be entertaining outside. So we're going to talk about the archway to the dining room. Originally, the archway was not in this position and was not this size. It was smaller and it was off to the side. So in order to increase the volume, the size of the kitchen, and still be able to have cabinetry and storage for foodstuffs, we centered the archway to the island. We put a new header in. This happens to be a structural wall. And then you can see to my left and to my right, you can see these tall cabinets. One of the things I like about these tall cabinets for the pantries, you'll notice that it has the deep drawers on the bottom. Typical design, you have doors that come to about this point from the floor up, and then you have the shorter door, and it looks very generic. And it's not as functional as these are. So this looks very rich with the drawers on the bottom, and they're nice and deep. So this can be multi-purpose items with food and things like that. This also gave us more countertop space, which left this archway more open. This countertop space can also be used to service the kitchen and the dining room during entertaining. A lot of times clients will like to add things such as a television for entertainment, watch the news while preparing a meal, or other elements that they may enjoy enhancing the look of the kitchen. So this fireplace was added. What's interesting here is you don't see any cable boxes or anything like that, but what we did was we tucked them away. If you look up here in the top of this tall cabinet, that's where all their components are to control the TV. So if they want to DVR, change the channels, hook up to the internet, it's all controlled here. And this really adds a nice element. The client had suggested the idea that they wanted this to be recessed, and you'll notice that it's almost a true flush mount, but it looks really beautiful. It is on a television bracket. They also wanted this frame. You'll notice the copper frame blends perfectly with the copper accents with the sinks and the faucets, and we can see the decorative fireplace. So this element really came out beautiful. We actually had to reframe this wall to make all these components work. Our island also came out beautiful and is very, very functional. You'll notice in the quartz countertop, one of the reasons this quartz was selected, the clients love the copper accents, which I agree with. And if you notice, you can see where my finger is, there's a copper fleck in the actual quartz top, which also blended with the theme of the copper accents, which I thought was a great compliment. When designing an island, it's always very important to pick out your products first. The reason is because you don't really want seams where you put two pieces of countertop together that are going to be visible in an island. So this island came out beautiful. It was designed according to the size of the quartz. So you'll notice that it's a fairly large island, and you see that there are no seams. So it's very important that designing islands, you know the products that you're using, especially the countertops, to know how big the slabs are. I wanted to also mention how beautiful the end of the island looks. You can see that they did an accent color. So we have this darker cherry island, which complemented the floor with the contrast. Also, the glaze on the cabinets picks up this color that we see on the island. It's not just a solid paint. We added a brown glaze, which really made it look much richer. So if you look here, you can see the decorative door panels. You can see the decorative moldings that wrap around the turn posts, how nice and elegant it came out. Also, you can see these turn posts are larger than average. Most people will use a turn post that's about 3.5, 4 inches. You can see these are much bigger. We do have a large island, and we didn't want them to be hidden or look too petite for the island. Now we're going to talk about how beautiful the front of this island is. it conceals a lot of functional appliances behind all these decorative doors that are pretty much incognito. I'm going to walk around this side of the island here, and you'll see that it very comfortably fits 5 stools. The client picked out these stools. The color matches perfectly. The legs match the color of the cherry, and the leather material complements the countertops and the cabinets perfectly. So as I come around, I'm going to talk to you about all the different functions that this island performs. First of all, we have our sink there, which is obvious, and then here's our dishwasher. Many people wouldn't know that this was a dishwasher just looking at it. So to the right of the sink, we have our dishwasher. We also have our tilt-out tray, soap, sponges, Dobie pads. This is removable. You can actually take it out and you can clean it, this stainless steel tray. And you'll notice it's all soft close as well, that it doesn't slam. The problem with the ones that slam is whatever components, if there's sponges, Brillo pads in there, they can kind of tip out and fall out. Next, very convenient for our sink area is a 50-quart pull-out waste bin. And behind it, you'll see that you have storage for the bags. And you can see the quality. It's made out of solid wood, dovetail components. And of course, we have the heavy-duty Blum drawer guide system, which is also soft close. This is refrigeration. So here we have a drawer refrigerator. And again, very convenient for cooking. So both of these drawers are refrigeration. And then we also have another refrigerator, which can hold other types of items, milks, things like that. So really, the front of this island really looks beautiful and is extremely functional. There are a lot of other features that really enhance the beauty and functionality of this kitchen. So I'd like to take a look at some of those. You can see here on both ends of the island, these are plug strips. You can see it's got the bronze color, which blends perfectly with the cherry color on the island. And they're very convenient to have on both sides of the island if you want to plug in tabletop appliances, warming trays, you want to charge up your phone or your tablet. It's very important that your island is electrified. The reason I like these is a lot of designers will put receptacles in the middle of the side panel, and I really think that takes quite a bit away from the look and the richness and the charm of the island when we just randomly stick receptacles in the side of the panels. Some other features of this kitchen, if we look up, these are typical wafer lights. They have 5 different temperatures, which is the color tone of your lighting. So 2700, 3000, 3500, 4000, and 5000. And they're very easy to set on the driver box that is behind the light fixture. The nice thing about these type of fixtures versus the traditional recessed is the light is brought further down, so you get more of a spread in the kitchen. So they're much more functional than the ones that are kind of sucked up into the ceiling 2 or 3 inches. You may have noticed that you don't see any vents for heat or any radiators. This particular home is heated by hydronic hot water heat from a boiler, and we did eliminate hot water baseboards in order to make the kitchen bigger and add storage and cabinetry. So you'll notice here, this is a kick space heater, and this goes on in conjunction when the boiler goes on as called for by the thermostat. So in this particular kitchen, we have 2 of them. There's one here, and then we also have one underneath the sink over here. And the blower can be adjusted as necessary depending on the season and how much heat that the client would like it to put out. Another element is the decorative moldings throughout. You can see the base molding here. It's not your typical 4-inch, 4.5-inch base molding. It's very decorative, and it goes perfectly with the theme of the kitchen. And to complement it, the casings around the windows and the archways also follow suit with the theme. If we come over here, you can see how beautiful the casing is around the archway to the dining room. We can also see that it's used on the archway to the living room, which we also did modify in this particular kitchen to fit it. You can see on the patio door, the beautiful moldings and the base molding to the right. You may have noticed when we were discussing the island, a 3rd sink. Again, it's done in copper. It's a beautiful accent. We can see that the copper faucets all match. So this kitchen actually has 3 sinks, very functional, and they do get used. along with the beautiful sink in the island. You'll also notice that the client picked out beautiful sconces. They're not too overwhelming, but they're perfectly fit. It looks like this is a type of onyx globe. And you'll also notice that the stem on the pendant lights matches with the rest of the theme of the colors in the kitchen. So a beautiful accent adding these three pendant lights over the island. As we continue to discuss the lighting in this kitchen, you'll notice the under cabinet lights, which are also LED. And if we kind of scoot underneath the cabinet, we can see the warm temperature 2700, which really brings out the richness of the color of the backsplash and the countertop, as well as provide task lighting for functions on the top. Now you notice the switch here, I can now change the temperature. That's 3000, 3500, 4000, and 5000. But you'll notice that in a kitchen like this, that's a warmer traditional theme, that it kind of bleaches out the color. So in an urban contemporary kitchen, you probably want the brighter colors, but you can see that this feature is really nice to have. I believe the original flooring in this kitchen before we gutted it and remodeled it was tile. And if we just scoot down here and we look at the beautiful wood flooring, the client wanted the natural beauty and the warmth of a wooden floor, and they wanted to blend it with the other rooms that already existed. So we used the same grade of oak so that it would match the other rooms. You'll also notice that the finish, we added, it's not necessarily a stain, but we added a blender because we wanted it to be natural, but at the same time we wanted it to look like it was a little bit aged so that it can catch up to the other rooms. And the satin type of matte finish on it also is perfect for a kitchen. It's not shiny, doesn't have a glare to it, and it doesn't distract from the overall look of the beautiful kitchen. We also put in modern switches, as you can see here, that will turn the under cabinet lights on or off. And when I push that down button, you can see that the dimmer went all the way down. If I push this, it goes up, and then these buttons will adjust it accordingly. So these switches are used throughout the kitchen. You can also see for the main lights, for the pendant lights, and for the ceiling wafer lights that we use the same type of switching system. And it is available in a three-way system so that it's not just controlled from one side. To conclude with our beautiful kitchen today, I just want to talk about the design of the cabinets themselves. Basically, what you'll notice here, we spoke about this earlier, this is an inset door. That means that the door insets into the face frame. And around the face frame, this particular frame has a decorative bead. Now, we offer this in different beads. We offer it in a round over, depending on the theme that the client would like. But what's very important is our factory, what they do, I don't know if you'll see it in the video, but they back bevel each one of the doors and drawers. The reason they back bevel it is so that with the elements changing and the seasons changing, the doors are going to expand and contract. Wood is a living, breathing product even after the tree is cut down and the wood is used for something like these fine cabinets. So we need to have an allowable space so when the seasons change, the doors are not necessarily rubbing and hitting each other, and they still look to fit very well. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, the hinges are six-way adjustable on top of that. This is a painted cabinet, so it's very important that during the seasons that are cold here in New York, that a client runs a humidifier. We want the humidity to be at 25 or higher because we don't want to dry out the cabinets and shrink them, because with the paint won't move, it won't expand and contract with the cabinets, and it could cause stress lines in the cabinet. So we always recommend to our clients in the New York season, November, December, January, February, March, it's always a good idea to have a little meter to stay on top of the humidification level and to run a humidifier if necessary for the health of the cabinets. Another thing I want to mention is when you have a painted finish like this, this is a very high-end quality cabinet with a really good finish on it, but it's important that you do not use chemicals and paper towels and things like that to clean the painted finish. We always recommend that you use a microfiber cloth that's damp, just to kind of clean off any dust or dirt or anything like that, and then you just buff it dry with a dry microfiber cloth.